I know that being pushed out of my comfort zone is going to lead to a lot of opportunity and growth. And I also know that it means the person asking me to do these things trusts me, and that's incredibly valuable and just like a rewarding demonstration of like, hey, we see you, we see that you continue to make valuable contributions, and you can do this. And welcome back to the 200 section, where we share honest perspectives from the middle of a growing company. In our last episode, we talked about adaptability and pivoting and how quickly things can change in the startup world. Today, we're focusing on a different kind of transformation, one that's much more subtle and often goes unnoticed until you're well past it. We're exploring that gradual shift from drinking from a fire hose and frantically trying to learn a new industry, new terminology, and new processes, to suddenly feeling like you've found your footing. You're no longer just surviving the chaos, you're actually contributing to strategy and influencing decisions and confidently navigating challenges that would have completely overwhelmed you just months or years earlier. Max and I have both experienced this journey at PerformX, though in different ways. The interesting thing is you rarely recognize the transformation as it's happening. You're so focused on day-to-day demands that you don't notice when you stop feeling like an imposter and start feeling like you belong. In today's episode, we're reflecting on that journey, from the nosebleeds to the 200s, and talking about what it really means to earn your seat in the middle of a fast-growing company. Welcome back to the 200 section. Here we are for episode 3.
Still rolling, still here. I think I'll make that joke every single time we start recording.
I don't understand how else we would get this started if we didn't fall back on this same joke over and over again. So I'm here for it personally.
That's true. Our viewers have, or listeners have come to expect it at this point.
I would think so, yeah. People appreciate consistency, so
That's
if
right.
we're nothing if not pleasers, so we will do that for
Exactly right.
you. Awesome. So, topic of conversation today, I think actually is going to be a pretty interesting one. Just reflecting on over the past 6 years, the transition, the very subtle transformation that happens continuously, kind of in the background as we're working, of going from feeling like you're flailing and just thrust into the chaos to all of a sudden feeling like, okay, wait, like I've got my balance. I'm standing on 2 feet. I kind of understand where things are going, and I feel like I can, contribute in new ways and with more confidence than in the past. And I think that that's probably a pretty relatable topic for people, especially others like our listeners who find themselves also in the 200 section of their respective companies. So I'm excited to take the time to actually reflect on this. Because I think a lot of the times this just, like I said, this just happens without you
Yep.
fully recognizing it in the moment. So it should be fun to talk about some of these stories and moments that we've had.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So was there or were there any specific moments, um, maybe realized in retrospect, that you felt like you weren't just trying to keep up anymore,
Hmm.
but you were like contributing meaningfully to either, insights or strategies? It's like even if you didn't notice it when it happened, is there something that as you sit here now you can think about and recall?
Yeah, there is one that comes to mind, and we've talked in previous episodes, but starting out in customer success, I feel like one of the jobs of customer success is being the voice of the customer, right? You're on the front lines, interacting with them, understanding how they're leveraging your software tool or whatever it may be. And so you're going to be the one that will occasionally come up with ideas and things that will make their lives easier. And so I feel like every company out there, at least within the tech space, there are mechanisms and ways to communicate this feedback, whether it's customers directly into the ecosystem or through customer success. And so having that moment where I was able to be that voice of the customer, provide it into our product teams, our technology teams, and then subsequently seeing it get developed and released. That's the example that's coming to mind. So for specifics, there was a distribution customer who within our space, right, you have agents and advisors, you have BGAs or distribution, as it can sometimes be called. You have then potentially institutions or carriers sitting above it. And so within this middle layer, this distribution segment, there was a customer of ours who was leveraging Performex as a means to better engage with their agents and advisors that have written business through them previously. And basically, they were doing everything we had suggested based on the playbook that we had come up with or were fine tuning. And because they were actually taking this action, they were having trouble at the time understanding or really remembering, did I reach out to this person already? Did I take the action that I wanted to take on this particular policy, on this particular issue, on this particular thing? And so there was an acute need for people or BGAs really to be able to track easily within Performex what they've already taken action on, and then subsequently also knowing what is there left to do. And so being that voice of the customer, being confident enough in understanding and knowing what this customer was looking for, communicated this to the product and development teams here at Performex, and let them do their thing, interviews with customers, come up with the most elegant solution that is going to satisfy the needs of what this particular customer is looking to do, but also everyone else, so everyone can benefit for it. And it led to this idea of the activity status, which is still in Performex today. And just as we were trying to solve with this distribution partner, what came out of this activity status is, when you're in the platform, if after you've reached out to someone or you've taken the action or the activity that you want to on a particular thing, you can adjust this activity status on a policy from anything from to do, doing, and done. So that way you can filter these out. So you just have line of sight on exactly what you need to do or what you still need to take action on. And it's something that is still used and put in process to this day. It's just become a thing that is inside of Performex. And so looking back on it, it really felt like the first time where these insights, these ideas that I had actually influenced something within the product. I had built that base level of knowledge and what people were looking for. I then understood exactly what the customer was looking for and was able to affect change in such a positive way. And again, something in a feature that is still used within the platform today. So that direct change in seeing something that I felt like I had a large hand in shepherding in, at least the idea, not the coding, not the execution or anything like that, but the idea itself, starting from being that voice for the customer. That was really the first time of feeling or sensing that small, tiny level of influence entering into the 200 section, coming down from the nosebleeds. So I think on my end, that's the first thing that I noticed, or the first time that I noticed something. I don't know, Claudia, if you have something similar on your end, or a story from the marketing side of things that led you to that first moment for you.
I do, but I'm gonna be obnoxious, and before
Oh,
I get to mine, I'm gonna ask you a follow-up question
of
about
course you
yours
are. Of
because
course you are.
because I am who I am, and you
Hmm.
knew that when you signed up and agreed to do this with me.
That's fair.
Uh, but no, as I'm hearing you talk about that specific example, and thinking about the lasting impact, right? Like that wasn't just a moment in time sort of impact you made. That feature still exists in the platform today. So I'm wondering if me asking you the question of what a specific moment was that you recognized it, is this the first time you've thought about that in, gosh, I don't know, years? Or do you find yourself mid-demo scrolling past that feature and being like, I had a little part to play there, and like still get a rush of the same, like, oh, that felt good that I meaningfully contributed something.
I think it's really the first time truly reflecting on it. It's just maybe in the moment when first giving demos and that was there, having that rush of dopamine, that rush of excitement, that was something that I had contributed to and had a hand in. But it's just become something that's there now. And I think that is the best thing, uh, best compliment I feel like that anyone could give someone outside of, this particular item or thing revolutionize the way people do X, Y, and Z. I'm sure that's a higher compliment than this thing just feels native, like it's always been there. But that's what it feels like at this point. It's just something that is there, that is native. It is something that is a feature that is almost taken for granted at this point. And I think it's really cool to see when we first came out with it. Oh, this was novel. It was new, something we promoted to everyone, and now it's just commonplace, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, I'm glad that we took this time then to reflect on that and that got to come up and you got to feel some of those positive feelings again, because I think that gives everybody a jolt to their day when they get to think back and be like, you know what, that was something that turned out well. So
Absolutely.
happy to share that story. Yeah, so I'll put it back on myself now after giving you that little bit of a wrench in the plan. Um, I think for me, like it's hard for me to even think back and pinpoint something from some of the earlier years. So the example that jumps into my mind more immediately is the website revamp project of
Mm.
2024, which was not our first website revamp project. So I think that's why this has the impact it does. Because through each, iteration of that effort, I learned more and more about who it is that we're, talking to, what is the story that we're trying to tell, what's the most like important information to communicate at the on the website, all of that. So I felt like I had gotten to a place where, thankfully, learning from internal experts and just, the conversations I've been lucky enough to have with customers. I mean, I've not sat in the customer success seat, so my exposure to that is certainly a bit more limited than yours has been, which is why I'm always slacking you, asking you questions, because I know you do have that quality FaceTime with customers, and it's great that we can bounce ideas off each other. Um, but yeah, I think I got to a place where I could focus then more on the mechanics of the website. What pages do we need? What's the prioritization of the information? I could focus more on that and not feel so lost and like, wait, I need somebody to explain to me once again what a distributor is, or like what this specific little nuance means, or how this message is going to land across all these different segments. I'd gotten to a place where that started to feel a bit more natural. And so I could spend more time, and I think it was well spent time thinking about, structural issues on the website. And I'm proud of what we came up with. I know last year my running joke was anytime we brought up, feedback on the website or progress, it was hopefully we get this thing done in the same calendar year we started it in. And turns out even sarcasm can become a manifestation, and it worked. We launched that thing just before, just after Christmas. I'm
Yeah.
hazy on the details now, but it still felt good to get it done. Um, and I know that, the product will continue evolving, marketing continues evolving, messaging shifts and changes. So it's certainly not like a something that we can check as done and be happy about in perpetuity. Like it's going to resurface at some point. But I'm excited for that to happen because I think we'll just keep building better and better off of what we already have started here. So yeah, I would say the website last year, redoing that is what stands out to me.
And everyone go check it out. www.performex.com, not performix, performex.com. Check out the good work because, yeah, that was a lot of blood, sweat, lots of tears, I'm sure. As to your point, we're in this startup, young company type of environment. The core offering doesn't change for the most part, but what resonates, what lands, what we're hearing from customers, from prospects changes. Sometimes it feels like by the minute, but daily, weekly, and to capture that moment in time and do it before the ball dropped on New Year's Eve to New Year's Day, that was definitely a awesome accomplishment for the team for sure.
It was. Yeah. And I appreciate your shameless plug telling people to go check it out. So, uh, Awesome. Well, I think another question that might spur some interesting conversation here or bring up, a story or two from our time at Performix so far is thinking about, okay, so we've got an example of things that we felt like we started making more impact. We're not just in the nosebleeds anymore. We're in the 200s. We're owning that a little bit. Um, so like that shows a level of confidence that has been earned on both of our parts. And I'm wondering if there's something specifically that you are more confident in now in your role that like young Max, 2019 Max would have been like, whoa, I cannot do this. There's no shot. So yeah, let's hear that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I go back to demoing or selling software, demoing anything for that matter. And to say it's something I'm confident in now depends on the day, it depends on the mood. But I think that stems from young Max looking back and reflecting. I always had more internal facing roles. It was supporting the sales team. It was supporting, customer success. It was doing some Excel analysis or stuff like that and providing recommendations for the people that were on the front lines. And so anything that involved talking with the end user of a product always brought some level of trepidation, as public speaking I feel like does for nearly everyone. Even anyone that says they love public speaking probably started from a place of a little bit of fear, a little bit of trepidation, a little bit of butterflies in the stomach, which still get to this day our as Performix's VP of carrier partnerships and sales, Kelly Lytle always likes to say, just means you care. And
It does
so
though.
it does. And so anyway, yeah, that scared the heck out of me. And I can just remember my first demo. I don't remember exactly who it was with or it's a bit fuzzy about the exact situation, but it was definitely with someone who is probably not a customer at this time because I'm sure it was just okay. It didn't do a great job selling the value properly of Performex. And nor do I think they would have been had I, killed the presentation and everything. But remembering that feeling, that being led and doing something almost out of fear at that point to something that is now uh, not necessarily second hand and second nature, but just something that I'm so much more comfortable with, and that came from reps and just time in the platform, but also getting to a point where consider myself almost an expert of the nooks and crannies, the ins and outs of the platform, to where it wasn't something intimidating of I'm new to the industry or anything like that at the time. It just slowly accumulating knowledge and getting comfortable with the script and the flow, and then adding your own unique twist and flavor to it. So that is definitely something where 2019 Max was scared out of his mind to have a conversation with a customer someone felt had more knowledge than me. And now it's definitely at a point where, you know what, I have this learned and earned experience in Proformex in what we do. And by no means do we or I know everything, but we know a lot, and hopefully we can instill that to folks and show that that expertise through confidence in what we're delivering. So that, yeah, 100% demoing, selling software, having those conversations. That is the first thing that sprung to mind when we were talking through some of these questions of being intimidated at first and now confident in quotes is how I feel about that.
Yeah. Well, one thing about me is I cannot pass up an opportunity to give somebody a well-deserved confidence boost. So I will just say, as somebody for our listeners, as somebody who has watched you demo and like has worked alongside you for the past 6 years, it is incredible to see you grow in those skills and just get better all the time. Like I'll think I've seen you at your peak and then I see you give another presentation and I'm like, Max just keeps getting better. He's aging like a fine wine, and I love that for him.
Too much making me blush, but that is, yeah, I think that's the key, and it's something that's instilled at Performax. We've talked previously of a learn first mindset. Even when you feel like you've given your best, there is a piece or something that you can always tighten up and do a little bit better. And so it's that just the pursuit for perfection. I think it can, in a healthy way, as long as it's channeled in a healthy way and it's not crippling, can lead to, just continuing to get better and better and better at everything.
Yeah, 100%. And the results speak for themselves. So fully agree. I think if I were to go back to my 2019 self,
Hmm.
probably everything scared me, if I'm being honest. I was still, pretty green as a professional, even at that time. So I think, but if I had to pick something specific to focus on that maybe people listening to this podcast can appreciate or resonate with, I think I started out feeling like I needed to constantly, almost obsessively, see what other like software B2B tech companies were doing in the space, specifically with like copywriting or messaging or, what's an ad that worked really well that somebody else used, and feeling like I had to check that first before I could even start trying a first draft of something at Performex. I wanted to see what others who are more established in the space do. And I think over time you get more comfortable, at least I did. I got more comfortable understanding market position, who we're talking to, what our product actually delivers for people. And then you get to this place where you're like, I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to just try to like copy and emulate what others are doing. Sure, I can still see ideas that are, inspirational or give me like some spark of creativity for like, oh, well, like what could our spin be on something like that? But I have so much more confidence now being like, I can try a first draft of something knowing what I know, and we can refine and figure things out, but I don't have to just react to what everybody else is doing. And if I may be so bold as to say, I think that that's really important right now, because we're getting to this place where no shame, no judgment, but more and more people are using AI to do their copywriting, and we're getting to this place where there's just this sea of sameness, right? Like the way that ChatGPT messages, like at its core, I hope that people listening can understand this feeling, but pretty quickly when you're reading something if a person wrote it or if ChatGPT wrote it, largely because of things like nobody uses M dashes as much as ChatGPT does. Um, but so all that to say, like I think it's important to get confident in knowing how you can differentiate and stand out in that, because that's going to happen. Like people are going to take that as their direction and just be fine with it. And maybe that gets them the results that they want and they're cool with it. And that's great. Again, like this is not me shaming the way others choose to write their copy. I'm just saying I think that for our sake, it's super meaningful and makes a difference to have it be very human led. And we've as a team collectively put in the work to get to that point.
I th I think that's super interesting in the sense of it, it is a incredibly valuable resource, new resource, right? I can only imagine what it felt like when the internet was first on the scene, or Google, and you could look up anything you wanted without having to consult a dictionary or anything like that. I
Stuff
feel
we
like
take for granted at our age.
100% stuff that we take for granted, and now there's this cool new thing out there that is, again, an invaluable resource. But I think it's just that it's a resource. It's another tool in the tool belt. And on top of when you add in the fact that feels like we're in such a niche of at Performax of in-force data. It, what that means so many different things to so many different people, but it's also something that it feels like hasn't really been attempted by too many people out there. And so when you're feeding the beast, as I like to call it, of prompts and things to ChatGPT or Claude or whomever to try and get copywriting and stuff out of it, um, it can be a great resource, but just copying and pasting probably isn't going to get you the results or get you exactly what you're looking for. So that human-led element is definitely something I feel like we continue to try to put forth in all the materials that we put together here.
Yeah. Yeah, we have an established brand voice, a tone, a personality. I hope that that is conveyed in our, it's certainly an attempt that we make. And so to just let that, die at the hands of these LLMs that are not going to mimic that style unless you explicitly tell it to when you, so to speak, feed the beast, um, would be a shame. So.
No, agreed.
Cool. Last question for you. Uh, I think we've kind of hit on the fact that sometimes you need an external indication of sort of these changes that are happening as you grow into yourself and in your career. So for you, like if you look back, were there any signs that you were transitioning from survival mode to thriving, even if you didn't notice them at the time, or if somebody had to point them out to you?
Again, thriving, such a strong word there.
It is, I know, but you get what I'm doing, right? Like
I see, I
yeah.
see what you're going for. I think the signs, so to speak, of going from survival mode to thriving, it's more around trust and responsibility being given from bosses, peers, those above you or related. And I don't necessarily know if in the moment I truly recognized it, but sitting back and reflecting, definitely now see that. And so I think the moment that I saw was back to the customer success days and working under Nico, our head of customer operations. And I pretty sure I think this was during COVID times as well. And just getting a phone call from him one afternoon. We had just signed a really large account. Sales team did a great job and getting them in and excited. And now it was time for our team to take over. And getting a call from Nico of essentially saying, "Hey, you're up, you're in. Like this account is yours. I'm gonna be there to help, but you're gonna lead it." And so that particular moment is one that sticks out looking back of, okay, whatever I had done up to this point, I had earned the trust, I had earned that responsibility to be able to be put in front of these very important customers who are still customers to this day, which is outstanding. And so that's really the main moment that sticks out to me. And then there's, I think, other smaller moments of, being asked to wear different hats, not necessarily being a specialist, but a generalist, which at a small and growing company is something I feel like you need a lot of. And so being able to help out on other projects, whether it's modeling things in Excel or doing research analysis and one-off research projects, and folks having the trust that I can still do my day job, my main job, but also all these other things that are going to help propel the business forward strategically or in different ways. Even being asked for my perspective. Hey, what's your view on this situation? Even though I wasn't immersed in it, people valued my perspective on things. So I think all of those are small mini signs that have gone from this survival mode of learning and understanding the basics to actually thriving. But particular moment in time, 100% still remember that call from Nico. Probably it was probably 5:30 something like that. Nico too nice, didn't want to slack it or something like that. Picked up the phone and called and was like, it was like a call to the bullpen, right? Hey, we're bringing in the righty. You're up. It's your turn. So that's the main moment that sticks out for me for sure, for sure.
How rewarding is it to be where we are now that we can look back on those moments where somebody either gently prodded us or just full on shoved us out of our comfort zone? And it very much in the moment, it's like, okay, large feelings coming up here right now are fear, uncertainty. Am I going to fail? I don't want to fail. I want to do good by the company, by my peers, by everything, everybody. But now, like, we're at a place, both because we've been with this specific company for so long, but also just as we continue maturing as professionals, like, we can see those signs for what they are now, where, oh, like, I know that being pushed out of my comfort zone is going to lead to a lot of opportunity and growth. And I also know that it means the person asking me to do these things trusts me. And that's incredibly valuable and just like a rewarding demonstration of like, hey, we see you, we see that you continue to make valuable contributions and you can do this. And I feel like the podcast ended up being a vehicle of that too, right? Like we pitched the team, hey, we want to do this podcast. I've never hosted a podcast. You know me, I'm not one to put myself in the spotlight at all. But so, having the trust of the team to be like, yeah, sure, go. We trust you. Do it. Knock it out is it's rewarding. And it helps you to establish that sort of relationship built on, again, I keep saying the word trust. How many times have I said it? Where's the counter? Producer Jake, can we get a counter of how many unnecessary times I repeated that word? Yeah, I think it's super rewarding to be able to see that for what it is now.
It totally is, and I think that's the key is you personally. I'll speak for myself here. I don't know if I always recognize in the moment or at the time those moments where that trust is being given, that recognition is being given, that responsibility. And so this was great to look back and identify that moment, but I know that cycle is going to continue to repeat itself of, heck, there may have been a moment a week ago, 2 weeks ago, where I was given more trust. I was given more responsibility to do something, to lead something. And at the moment, fear, what do I do? Am I going to succeed? I don't want to fail, all those same things. But then, yeah, looking back, really healthy and a good thing to look back and see, okay, there's that moment. And a lot of times I feel like it's someone above you or a peer or someone like that that has to give you that push, whether forcefully or gently or without even noticing, takes someone else to give that to you. Then you have to grab it, obviously, and succeed with it to keep progressing. But it takes someone else giving that to you and believing in you in order for you to, keep rising to the occasion.
It does. And I think another layer of feedback that I have felt personally we get at PerformX all the time is after somebody pushes you and says, hey, I want you to take ownership of this thing. Don't be scared. Go do it. You got this. Then once that thing is accomplished, whatever it may be, I feel like our team does a really good job of recognizing the effort and like, for example, we have an entire Slack channel called the Kudos channel where anybody at any time can just say, hey, this person did a really great job on this thing. And everybody in the whole company gets to see it. And it's super meaningful. It gives people, I think, that little jolt of energy they need to like keep going and tackle the next challenge. So for me, like working in a company that operates that way is everything. I can't see myself working at a place that doesn't embrace that sort of mentality now that I've gotten so spoiled and so used to what it's like to be on a team that does that.
Totally.
Awesome. Well, this was super fun. I honestly didn't know what moments you were going to bring up, so it was fun to hear your stories, even though we lived through these things simultaneously. And I think future episodes, we'll keep having conversations like these. Excited to see what we come up with for the next episode. But thank you to everyone who tuned in for episode 3. We appreciate you joining us here in the 200 section, and we will be back next episode with more stories from the middle of the action.